Imagine a world where a full day lasts only 6 hours. The oceans are purple, and it can rain for millions of years straight. It sounds like science fiction, but every one of these things actually happened on our planet. Today, we're going to look at 10 prehistoric events that sound completely fake, but are absolutely real. And the further we go, the crazier these facts get. 1. The oceans were purple. Before plants existed, the oceans were dominated by ancient bacteria. These bacteria didn't use chlorophyll like plants do today. Instead, they used a pigment called retinal, which absorbs green light and reflects red and purple wavelengths back. The result? Purple oceans. Possibly purple land, too. Scientists call this the Purple Earth hypothesis, and it may have lasted over 1 billion years. Here's the part that really gets me. This might be exactly why plants ended up green. Because the green light range was already being used by the purple bacteria, newer organisms had to capture the leftover red and blue light instead. Green was already taken. So the purple bacteria, without meaning to, decided the color of every plant that would ever exist after them. 2. Volcanoes once made it rain glass. When volcanoes erupt with enough force, they blast superheated silica particles high into the atmosphere. Under the right conditions, those particles cool and harden midair into tiny shards of volcanic glass. When they mix with moisture and fall back to Earth, what you get looks like rain, but is actually a shower of microscopic glass needles. This happened multiple times in Earth's history, especially during supervolcano eruptions. For anything caught in it, plants, animals, early creatures, it would be devastating. Shredded vegetation, destroyed lungs, stripped landscapes. It sounds like a fantasy disaster, but it's just geology. 3. It rained for almost 2 million years straight. Around 232 million years ago, massive volcanic eruptions pumped huge amounts of CO2 into the atmosphere. Temperatures shot up. Oceans evaporated faster than ever before. The water cycle spun completely out of control, and it basically wouldn't stop. Scientists call this the Carnian pluvial episode. It lasted between 1 and 2 million years. Entire ecosystems were wiped out. But here's the twist. This disaster may be the reason dinosaurs took over. Before the rains, they were just one group among many. After, most of the competition was dead. The catastrophe cleared the board for them. 4. The Sahara Desert was once a green jungle. From roughly 11,000 to 5,000 years ago, the Sahara looked almost nothing like it does today. The region was covered in grasslands, forests, and freshwater lakes. Hippos lived in what is now Chad, crocodiles in what is now Algeria. Early humans left behind cave paintings and settlements that now sit buried under sand. What changed it? A small shift in Earth's orbit moved the monsoon patterns south. The rains left. Vegetation died. Soil dried out. The whole system collapsed within a few thousand years. Just 5,000 years ago, people were farming where there's now nothing but dunes. Some climate models suggest the green Sahara could come back within a few thousand years. 5. Giant insects the size of birds actually existed. About 300 million years ago, Earth's atmosphere contained around 35% oxygen, compared to 21% today. Insects breathe through tiny tubes in their bodies rather than lungs, so more oxygen meant their bodies could grow much larger. The result was Meganeura, a dragonfly-like creature with a wingspan of up to 70 centimeters, close to the size of a modern seagull. Giant millipedes over 2 meters long crawled through the forests. Eventually, oxygen levels dropped, the giants disappeared, and things went back to normal. But for tens of millions of years, the skies and forests of Earth were full of creatures that would fit right into a horror movie. 6. Before trees, giant mushrooms were the tallest things on Earth. Around 420 million years ago, large plants hadn't taken hold on land yet, but something else had. Enormous fungi called prototaxides, growing up to 8 meters tall and about 1 meter wide. For a long time, scientists didn't even know what they were. They were mistaken for trees, then seaweed, then giant lichens. Eventually, the answer turned out to be fungi. So for millions of years, the tallest living things on dry land weren't trees. They were mushrooms. Ancient landscapes had low-growing plants, strange ferns, and these towering pillar-like fungi reaching up into the sky. Such a landscape would look very strange and almost alien. 7. Earth used to spin so fast, a day was only 6 hours long. About 4 billion years ago, Earth was spinning much faster than it does today. A full day lasted somewhere between 6 and 8 hours. So what slowed it down? The Moon. Ever since it formed, from a catastrophic collision between Earth and a Mars-sized rock, the Moon has been applying a tiny gravitational drag on Earth's rotation. Ocean tides create friction, and over billions of years, that friction added up to an extra 18 hours per day. Today, Earth's day gets about 1.7 milliseconds longer every century. At that rate, a day on Earth could eventually last 30 to 40 hours. The planet is still slowing down, so slowly you'd never notice, but it never stops. 8. Antarctica was once a tropical rainforest. About 90 million years ago, Antarctica sat close to where it is today, but the climate was completely different. Scientists drilling into the seafloor there found ancient soil with fossilized pollen, spores, and root systems from a dense rainforest growing near the South Pole. Temperatures averaged around 12 degrees Celsius. No ice caps existed. CO2 levels were 4 to 8 times higher than today. Dinosaurs almost certainly roamed there. The continent we think of as a frozen wasteland was, not long ago by geological standards, a warm and living place. The planet's current state is just one moment in a much longer story. 9. The oxygen you're breathing right now was originally a toxic waste product, and it caused one of the biggest mass extinctions in history. For most of early Earth's history, the oceans had almost no free oxygen. Life existed, but only as bacteria that didn't need it. Then, around 2.4 billion years ago, a new type of bacteria called cyanobacteria evolved photosynthesis, releasing oxygen as a byproduct. At first, that oxygen got absorbed by iron in the seawater, but eventually the iron ran out, and oxygen started building up everywhere. For the bacteria that had dominated Earth until that point, oxygen was poison. Billions of organisms died in what's called the Great Oxidation Event, probably the largest mass extinction in Earth's history. But for everything that came after, including us, that oxygen-rich atmosphere was the starting line. We exist because a group of bacteria accidentally destroyed their own world. 10. Dead trees piled up for 60 million years because nothing could rot them. When trees first evolved around 385 million years ago, they developed a tough compound called lignin to hold themselves upright. The problem? No fungi or bacteria could digest it. So dead trees didn't rot. They just piled up. For around 60 million years in vast, swampy graveyards across the planet. Over time, heat and pressure turned all that unrotted wood into coal. The same coal we've been burning since the Industrial Revolution. A fungus eventually evolved that could break down lignin. The buildup stopped, and the coal age ended. But hundreds of millions of years later, humans dug all that ancient wood out of the ground and set it on fire. The trees finally decomposed. Just not how nature planned it. We tend to think of Earth as a stable background to human history. But really, it's been through some of the wildest conditions imaginable. Purple oceans, glass rainstorms, 2 million years of flooding, a supervolcano that nearly ended our species. And somehow, here we still are. If you made it to the end, let me know in the comments which one hit hardest, and I'll see you in the next one.